It wasn't that long ago that the world of crypto just seemed unstoppable. It was this incredible story of meteoric rises and world-changing innovation. But then, wow, the story took a sharp turn, and it became this cautionary tale of spectacular collapse and, well, contagion. So let's unpack this story, the boom, the bust, and what a global financial watchdog found when they looked into all the chaos. To really wrap your head around the scale of what happened, you have to start with this number, $3 trillion. That's what the entire crypto market was worth at its peak in late 2021. I mean, that is an absolutely massive figure, bigger than the entire economy of a country like the United Kingdom. But as we all know, what goes up? Well, in crypto, it came crashing down. And boy, did it come down fast. This timeline really shows you just how quickly the so-called crypto winter arrived. From that $3 trillion peak, the first major shockwave hits in May 2022 when the Terra/Luna stablecoin just implodes. Then, only 6 months later, one of the biggest names in the game, the FTX exchange, goes bankrupt, sending the whole market into a total freefall. This crazy collapse brings up two absolutely critical questions. First, how on earth did a $3 trillion market just crumble so spectacularly? And maybe more importantly, what's to stop the next crypto crisis from spilling over and infecting the entire global financial system? To answer those questions, we're turning to the pros. This is the Bank for International Settlements, or the BIS. You can think of them as the central bank for all the other central banks. They did a super deep investigation into the crypto crash, and they focused especially on the risks for emerging economies. Their report is basically our roadmap for this explainer.
All right, so to figure out how this all went sideways, the BIS first had to diagnose the problem. And that meant really unpacking the hidden flaws and the big risks baked into the crypto ecosystem itself, starting with what a crypto asset even is. The report kicks off with a super important definition. Crypto assets are private digital assets. That means they aren't issued or backed by a central bank, like the dollar or the euro. They rely on complex cryptography for security and are built on stuff like blockchain. But, as we're about to see, not all crypto is created equal, not by a long shot. So the report basically draws a line in the sand. It splits the whole crypto world into two major camps. On one side, you have assets that have some kind of mechanism built in that's supposed to keep them stable. And on the other side, you have assets with no safety net at all, just left completely to the whims of the market. This brings us to stablecoins. Now, notice the word choice here. They attempt to link their value to something stable, like the US dollar. As the whole Terra/Luna disaster proved, that attempt can fail, and fail catastrophically. Then in the other camp, you've got your unbacked crypto, like Bitcoin, where the value is driven purely by speculation and demand. Okay, with that distinction made, the BIS report points to 6 specific financial time bombs: market, liquidity, credit, operational, bank disintermediation, and capital flow risk. Each one of these grows out of a specific weakness, like insane price swings or secret debt. These are the dangers that really have regulators worried.
A key quote from the report really gets right to the heart of the problem. The opaque nature of crypto assets leads to a lack of governance. What does that mean? Well, opaque just means it's murky, it's not transparent, it's often impossible to know who's really in charge, where the money is, or if a whole operation is even solvent. Let's just zoom in on credit risk for a second. I mean, FTX is the perfect, or maybe the most disastrous case study here. The report points to these related party transactions. That's exactly what was happening with FTX and its sister company, Alameda Research. They were all tangled up, using their own made-up token for huge loans with zero disclosure. So when people started to lose confidence, the entire house of cards just came tumbling down. Okay, so we've seen all the risks bubbling up inside the crypto world. But the big question, the trillion-dollar question really, is how does that trouble escape? How does it infect the traditional financial system that we all depend on every day? This is the whole problem of contagion. This slide visualizes it perfectly. It's like a roadmap of the disaster. Over on the left, you've got all those internal crypto problems, the volatility, the secrecy. Those arrows in the middle, those are the transmission channels. They're the bridges that let all that trouble cross over into the traditional financial system on the right, and that's when it can become everyone's problem. But here's the thing. These transmission channels, they don't hit every country the same way.
The BIS report found a powerful amplifier, a factor that makes all these risks way more dangerous in one specific part of the world: emerging market economies. I mean, just look at this data. It's pretty staggering. According to one big index, of the top 20 countries for crypto adoption, an incredible 18 of them are emerging market economies. So the bottom line is, the people who are most exposed to these risks often live in places that are already dealing with economic volatility. The big question is, why? Well, the report points to some very real, very human reasons. Imagine your local currency is collapsing because of inflation. Crypto might look like a lifeline. If you can't get a bank account, it's an alternative. If you depend on money sent home from family abroad, it promises to be cheaper and faster. In places where institutions are weak, the whole idea of decentralization sounds pretty amazing. And this right here is the central, almost tragic irony of this whole situation. People in emerging economies are often running to crypto to escape financial instability, to find some kind of safe haven. But they're basically jumping from the frying pan of a shaky domestic currency straight into the fire of an asset class whose defining feature is just extreme, wild volatility. So, with all the risks diagnosed and the contagion pathways mapped out, the final piece of the puzzle is the response. What can global authorities actually do about all this? And that brings us to the path to regulation. The BIS report pretty much lays out three main options that are on the table. First, you could try an outright ban. It sounds simple, but it's really hard to enforce when crypto doesn't care about borders. Second, containment. You'd basically try to build a firewall between crypto and traditional finance. And third, the most complicated option of all, regulation. And within that third option, a really clear principle is starting to emerge. Same activity, same risk, same regulatory outcome. The idea is actually pretty simple. If a crypto service acts like a bank, taking deposits and making loans, then it should be regulated like a bank. If a crypto product looks and acts like a stock, it should be regulated like one. It's about what it does, not the technology behind it. And all of this leads us to the ultimate challenge, the big final question. Is it actually possible to tame crypto's wild, speculative side, all these risks, without totally killing the genuine innovation and potential that got the whole world so excited in the first place? That is the trillion-dollar question that regulators are wrestling with right now.